The desert stretched wide and silent, its golden sand glowing under the hot sun. A team of workers moved slowly across the dig site, brushes and tools in hand. They had been searching for months, following old maps and broken hints from forgotten records. Most believed they would find only another buried temple or ruined tomb. But Amir, the youngest archaeologist on the team, felt something deeper was waiting beneath the dunes. The sound of a worker's shovel striking stone broke the silence. The others gathered quickly, brushing sand away until a wide stone doorway appeared. The carved surface was different from anything they had seen before. The marks were not only symbols of gods and kings, but strange shapes like stars, lines, and patterns that looked almost like machines. Amir stepped closer, his heart racing. "This is not a simple tomb," he whispered, running his fingers over the carvings. The stone felt warm, almost alive under his hand. The team worked for hours until the doorway opened enough for them to step inside. Darkness waited beyond, heavy and still, but not empty. As their lanterns shone inside, something remarkable revealed itself. The hall stretched long and tall, with walls coated in a golden surface that seemed to shine even without light. At first they thought it was simple gold, but the glow was not the reflection of the lanterns. The golden walls shined on their own, soft and steady, as if carrying a hidden fire within them. The workers murmured in awe, some afraid, others excited. Amir could not take his eyes away. The hall was silent, yet it seemed to breathe with its own energy. In the far end of the chamber stood tall pillars, each wrapped with the same golden light, and in between them, strange carvings told stories. Ships sailed not across seas, but across the stars. Warriors held staffs that shined like suns. A pharaoh stood tall, not among men, but among beings with long shapes and glowing eyes. Amir's hands trembled as he copied the markings into his notebook. This is history no one has spoken of. This is not only the story of kings. This is something greater. Night fell outside, but Amir remained in the hall while others returned to their tents. He sat near the central pillar, watching the golden glow in the silence. It felt safe and yet powerful, like standing at the edge of a hidden river. His lantern burned out, but the chamber never grew dark. The gold carried its own light, faint yet clear, shining in the deepest shadow. Amir placed his hand against the pillar. The surface was smooth and warm. For a moment he thought he saw the glow change. It rippled like water, a wave moving across the surface. His eyes widened as images appeared in the glow. He saw the night sky filled with fire. Great ships of shining metal fought against enormous dark vessels shaped like beasts. Light struck across the sky, tearing through clouds and sand. The earth shook, and the Pharaoh of old stood at the edge of the desert, raising his hands toward the glowing hall. The golden light spread from the hall, striking down upon the invaders. Amir pulled his hand away, gasping for breath. The glow faded, returning to its quiet steady shine. His heart raced with the knowledge that this was no simple decoration. The hall was more than stone and gold. It was a memory, a machine, a secret left by people who had seen things far beyond the desert. He looked around the chamber again. The golden walls no longer felt like treasure. They felt like guardians, waiting for someone to awaken them. He realized that this hall was never meant to be looted or sealed away. It was left here with purpose, hidden in shadow until the time was right. Amir sat back against the pillar, staring at the ceiling where the glow traced star patterns. He thought of the pharaoh who had once ruled here. Perhaps the ancient king had known of worlds beyond earth. Perhaps he had walked among visitors from the sky. And perhaps he had left this place for his people to find one day, when they were ready. Outside, the desert winds howled, covering tracks and swallowing sound. But inside the hall, the golden glow stood firm, calm, and eternal. Amir closed his notebook and placed his hand once more upon the wall. He whispered softly, though no one was there to hear. "This place is not a tomb. This is a message." And as if the hall understood, the glow pulsed faintly, a slow heartbeat in the endless dark. The next morning the desert was quiet, but Amir's mind was restless. He had barely slept, for his thoughts circled back to the moving images he had seen in the golden pillar. The other archaeologists worked nearby, brushing sand from statues and measuring the walls, yet none of them understood what the hall truly held. To them, it was treasure or history. To Amir, it was alive. When the others stepped outside for breakfast, Amir stayed behind. He stood before the glowing walls, letting the silence surround him. The golden surface pulsed faintly, as if it welcomed his presence. Slowly, he raised his hand and pressed it against the same pillar as before. The light rippled again, stronger this time. Amir stepped back, watching as the golden surface shifted. At first, he saw only patterns of stars, but then they moved, forming scenes. The chamber was no longer just a hall but a window into the past. He saw fleets of ships, thousands of them, moving in darkness between stars. Some were bright and sleek, their shapes smooth like flowing rivers. Others were jagged and heavy, covered in dark shadows. The bright ships carried banners marked with golden suns, while the dark vessels spread clouds of smoke wherever they went. Amir's breath caught in his chest. The glowing gold showed battles fought in the skies. Blades of light struck across space, tearing through ships. Worlds below trembled as fire rained down. And then he saw something even more strange. At the edge of the vision stood a figure dressed as a pharaoh. The man wore a crown of gold and held a staff shining brighter than the sun. He stood not in a palace but among beings taller than humans, their faces hidden under silver masks, their bodies wrapped in glowing armor. The pharaoh raised his hand, and the golden hall around Amir pulsed as if answering him across time. The vision shook Amir to his core. It was clear that this hall was not a tomb but a vessel of memory. The pharaoh had guarded something greater than treasure. He had guarded knowledge and power that could not be explained by simple tools of the ancient world. The golden light shifted once more, showing Amir another vision. A desert battlefield appeared. Sandstorms swirled, and warriors with bronze spears faced shadows that were not human. Dark figures, taller and faster than men, moved across the dunes. The pharaoh's staff blazed like fire, and the golden walls shined in the background. Amir realized that this hall had been part of the battle. It was not a silent witness. It was a weapon. The vision ended as suddenly as it began, the golden walls calming into their steady glow. Amir fell to his knees, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He wiped sweat from his forehead. He whispered to himself, "This is the truth of our history. The pharaohs knew more than anyone has told us. They fought not only for land but for earth itself." Footsteps echoed behind him. Amir turned quickly, closing his notebook. One of the senior archaeologists, Dr. Hassan, entered the hall with a curious expression. "You have been in here all morning," Dr. Hassan said. "The workers say the walls glow more when you touch them. Is it true?" Amir hesitated. He wanted to keep the secret for himself, but he also knew the truth was too large to hold alone. "The gold reacts," Amir said carefully. "It is not only decoration. It shows things. Memories, or something beyond memories." Dr. Hassan frowned, studying the walls. Gold that shines in darkness. I thought it was only a poetic phrase. Perhaps we stand before a treasure greater than any tomb. As he spoke, the hall pulsed faintly, as if listening. The glow grew stronger for a moment, casting long shadows across the chamber. The senior archaeologist stepped back in surprise. Amir, however, felt a quiet comfort. That night, Amir stayed again inside the hall. The others no longer argued with him. They were uneasy about the glow and avoided the chamber after sunset. Alone, Amir placed his hand on the golden wall once more. This time, the vision did not show war. Instead, he saw a gathering. Humans stood beside tall silver figures, speaking with calm voices. They shared tools, maps of stars, and symbols of friendship. The golden surface seemed warm, like the memory of peace. Amir understood at once. This hall was not only a record of battles. It was also a record of an alliance. At some time long ago, Earth had not been alone. Visitors had come, and they had trusted humans to guard this golden secret. The pharaohs had taken the duty, hiding the hall under sand, waiting for a future when it might be needed again. Amir's heart filled with both awe and fear. If such knowledge existed here, would the world be ready for it now? Could humanity protect it again if the shadows returned? The golden light dimmed slightly, like the slow closing of an eye. Amir stepped back, his mind filled with questions. He realized one thing clearly. This discovery would change everything. And somewhere beyond the desert, others might already know of it. The night was quiet, but Amir no longer felt alone. The hall was alive, and its golden glow carried voices of the past. Voices that had waited in darkness for thousands of years. The desert camp was no longer quiet. By the third week of the excavation, rumors had spread beyond the team. Journalists, officials, and strangers with unknown purposes had begun to gather near the site. But none of them prepared Amir for what appeared one night. The stars were bright above the dunes when the air trembled with a low hum. The workers ran outside their tents, pointing at the sky. A set of silver lights moved across the horizon, descending in silence. They were not planes, nor anything human eyes had seen before. The lights grew brighter until shapes appeared. 3 tall crafts, smooth and shining like polished stone, settled on the sand beyond the dig site. Fear swept through the camp. Some shouted, others fell to their knees in prayer. Amir stood frozen at the entrance of the golden hall, his heart pounding. The ships opened with a hiss, and tall figures emerged. They called themselves the Watchers. Their forms were long and slender, their faces hidden beneath masks of dark glass. Their clothing shimmered like flowing metal. They did not carry weapons, but their presence carried weight, as if the air itself bent around them. One of the Watchers stepped forward. His voice was not spoken but echoed inside the minds of those nearby. The hall you uncovered belongs to us. It is the property of our kind. You must leave it. The crowd whispered in fear. Dr. Hassan, standing beside Amir, spoke with trembling voice. This is the land of Egypt. The hall is our discovery. You cannot claim it. The Watcher tilted his head. You are mistaken. This structure was built with our guidance. Your kings were guardians, not owners. Now you will return it. Amir clenched his fists. The golden glow from the hall behind him pulsed faintly, as if resisting the intruders. He stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. If this hall belongs to you, why does it answer to us? Why does the gold shine to human touch and not to yours? For the first time, the Watchers grew silent. Their masked faces turned toward Amir. The leader stepped closer, his shadow falling across the sand. You do not understand what you guard. The light inside this place is older than your people. It will bring ruin if left in your hands. Amir felt anger rising. It has been in our hands for thousands of years. If it was meant for you, it would not have been hidden beneath our desert. It was left here for humans to protect. The golden hall pulsed brighter, as if agreeing with his words. The watchers turned their masked heads toward the glow. For a moment, the silence was heavy. Then the leader spoke again, this time with sharper tone. We will not argue with children of dust. If you do not surrender the hall, we will take it by force. The camp fell into chaos. Some workers begged Amir to give up the hall, to avoid conflict. Others looked at him with wide eyes, waiting for guidance. Dr. Hassan grabbed Amir's arm. You must not provoke them. They are not like us. They can destroy us in a moment. But Amir shook his head. If we give them the hall, we give them our history. This place was left to us for a reason. I cannot hand it over. That night, the watchers approached the golden chamber. They stood at the entrance, their tall frames glowing faintly under the moonlight. Yet when they stepped closer, the golden light dimmed, as if rejecting them. One of the watchers raised a hand, touching the wall. The glow flickered but did not open. The leader turned toward Amir. Show us how you entered. Without you, the hall will not answer. Amir's heart pounded. He realized the truth of the code he had seen in the carvings. The hall was bound to human hands. It was designed to reject outsiders. The pharaohs had made sure of it. Gathering his courage, Amir spoke firmly. This place belongs to Earth. If you want to enter, you must destroy it. But it will never open for you. The watchers stared at him in silence. Then, without another word, they stepped back toward their silver ships. The crafts lifted into the night sky, vanishing among the stars. The camp breathed again, though uneasily. Dr. Hassan looked at Amir with fear and respect. You may have just saved us, or doomed us. They will not give up so easily. Amir gazed back at the glowing hall. The golden walls pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. He knew the watchers would return. The hall was no longer only a discovery. It was a line drawn between humans and something far greater. Amir whispered to himself, if they come again, we will be ready. The hall's light glowed stronger in answer, filling the darkness with its steady golden shine. The desert winds blew strong the next morning, carrying fine sand that whispered against the tents. The camp felt uneasy after the sudden visit of the watchers. Many workers wanted to leave. Some had already packed their belongings, afraid the silver ships would return with greater power. But Amir could not leave. His heart and mind were tied to the golden hall. Each night he had felt the light speak to him in silence, and now, after the arrival of the watchers, he understood why it responded to humans alone. The pharaohs had left behind not only treasure, but a trust. Amir sat inside the chamber, tracing his fingers along the carved symbols. Stars, ships, and lines of strange writing wrapped around the golden pillars. The shapes felt more like a puzzle than decoration. He brought his notebook closer, sketching what he saw. Slowly, he realized that the markings were a code. Some of the symbols were familiar hieroglyphs of Egypt, but they were arranged with foreign glyphs that did not belong to human language. When placed together, they formed patterns, almost like instructions. Amir worked for hours, sweating in the still air, his mind racing as he compared the signs. Dr. Hassan entered the hall quietly, watching Amir. You have not eaten. The others are worried. What do you hope to find in these marks? Amir looked up with tired eyes. The truth. The pharaohs hid something here. Not just gold or stone, but a message. If we read it, we will know why the watchers want this place. Dr. Hassan frowned but knelt beside him. Then let me help. I have studied the old texts for 40 years. Show me what you see. Together, the two men studied the carvings. Hours passed as they compared symbols, trying different combinations. Then Amir noticed a repeating pattern, a line of human hieroglyphs always beside 3 foreign glyphs. He tested the pattern, replacing the foreign signs with numbers. The wall seemed to glow brighter at his touch. It reacts to you, Dr. Hassan whispered. It reacts to humans, Amir said firmly. This is the code. A lock built to answer only our hands. The pharaohs made sure no outsider could use it. At last, the meaning revealed itself. The carvings told a story of an ancient alliance. Thousands of years ago, a race of silver beings came to Earth, not as conquerors but as seekers of peace. They shared knowledge with the pharaohs, teaching them about the stars and the dangers that lived among them. In return, the pharaohs built the shadow halls, chambers of golden light that could guard against enemies from beyond. The carvings explained further. The gold was not ordinary metal. It was a living technology, a barrier of light meant to rise against those who threatened Earth. But it had one rule: it would awaken only to human will. No alien hand could command it. That was the trust given to the pharaohs, and through them, to all of humanity. Amir's heart filled with awe. He turned to Dr. Hassan. Do you see? This is why the watchers could not enter. The hall belongs to us. It was made with us, for us. Dr. Hassan nodded slowly, though fear lingered in his eyes. If this is true, then the watchers will return. They will not accept our claim. They may try to break what they cannot control. Amir looked at the golden walls glowing softly around them. Then we must protect it? Not with weapons, but with knowledge. The code is the key. If we learn it fully, we can awaken the hall. That night Amir stayed awake, writing symbols again and again. The desert outside was dark and silent, but inside the chamber the golden glow shined like a lantern in endless night. He could almost feel the presence of the pharaohs, as if they stood beside him, guiding his hand. At one moment, when he placed his palm on the central pillar and spoke the words he had translated, the hall responded. The golden walls flared, brighter than ever before. Lines of light ran across the ceiling, forming maps of stars. Whole constellations unfolded, with paths marked between them. Amir stared upward in wonder. It was not only a hall. It was a library of the universe. Dr. Hassan gasped as the map stretched wider, filling the chamber with shimmering light. These are not stars of our skies. These are beyond our reach. Amir nodded. The pharaohs knew of worlds we have never seen. They held this knowledge, waiting for a time when we could carry it forward. The map pulsed, and new symbols formed on the walls. Amir quickly sketched them, realizing they were warnings. Images showed the watchers, their silver ships, and their shadows spreading across the skies. Yet beside them, humans stood tall, holding staffs of gold. The meaning was clear. The hall had been built as both shield and reminder. Amir whispered, almost to himself, we were never meant to be silent watchers of Earth. We were meant to be its defenders. The golden light dimmed again, settling into its steady glow. The chamber returned to quiet, but Amir no longer felt alone. He now carried the code, and with it, the weight of history. He stepped outside, the cool night wind brushing against his face. Above, the stars sparkled in endless darkness. Somewhere among them, the watchers were waiting. But Amir felt no fear. Humanity had been trusted once before, and now it was time to rise again. The pharaohs had left their shadow hall, not as a tomb, but as a gift. A promise hidden under sand, waiting for human hands to awaken it. The desert night was silent, but inside the golden hall, a quiet energy hummed. Amir and Dr. Hassan stood at the center of the chamber, examining the patterns on the walls. The code they had uncovered pulsed faintly, as if alive. Amir knew the watchers would return, and when they did, they would bring more than words. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground. The golden walls flickered and brightened. Amir stepped back, heart pounding. He felt a strange warmth spread through his hands as he touched the central pillar. The energy flowed into him, not painfully, but as if inviting him to join it. "What is happening?" Dr. Hassan asked, his voice trembling. Amir did not answer. He focused on the glowing symbols, repeating the code he had learned. The patterns on the walls began to move, lines of gold shifting like liquid. The air around them vibrated with a quiet force. Then, slowly, shadows rose from the walls. They were not dark like night, but solid shapes filled with golden light. Amir gasped. The shadows stretched into forms taller than any man, with limbs of light and stone. They moved gracefully, circling the hall as if waking from a long sleep. Their eyes glowed softly, and the hall seemed to respond to their presence, each corner shining brighter. "They are alive," Dr. Hassan whispered, stepping back in awe. Amir nodded. "They were built to protect. The pharaohs created them to guard this hall. Only humans can awaken them." The largest of the shadow figures moved toward Amir. It lowered its glowing head, and Amir could feel a silent communication. The guardians did not speak with words, but with understanding. They acknowledged him as the keeper of the hall. The golden energy flowed stronger, casting light across the chamber like a rising sun. Outside, the desert sky darkened suddenly. The hum of distant engines grew louder. Amir's stomach tightened. The watchers had returned, and this time, they had brought their ships in force. Shadows of their silver vessels passed over the dunes, and the ground trembled under their weight. "They are here," Amir said calmly. "The hall is ready for them." Dr. Hassan looked at him, fear in his eyes. "You mean to fight them with this light?" Amir touched the pillar again, and the guardians shifted, forming a circle around the central chamber. The golden energy flowed outward, tracing paths across the walls and floor. "We are not fighting with weapons," he said. "We are awakening what the pharaohs left for us. We defend with what is ours." The first watcher stepped into the hall. Its tall frame glowed faintly under the golden light, and it raised a hand in warning. "You cannot control this power. Leave now, or face destruction." Amir stepped forward. "You do not command this hall. It answers to humans, and we will not yield." The guardians moved silently toward the watcher, their forms solid and imposing. Light filled the chamber, bouncing off every surface. The watcher hesitated, then gestured toward its companions outside. Machines outside began to hum, but they could not penetrate the glow that now irradiated beyond the walls. Amir felt the pulse of the hall through his feet, through his hands, and into his mind. The golden light expanded, reaching the desert beyond the camp. The sand around the dig site glowed faintly, and the shadows of the watchers' ships flickered under its power. The Guardians' forms grew taller, their shapes now towering over the pillars like living statues of ancient kings. A silent energy filled the desert night. The Watchers' machines strained against the invisible barrier. Lights flickered, and the ground shook as their ships attempted to land closer. Yet the hall's golden power held firm, flowing outward in protective waves. Amir knew the hall's gift was more than defense. It was a statement. Humanity had been trusted, and now that trust had awakened. The pharaohs had built not only a hall, but a shield, a guardian army of light bound to human hands. The Watchers, realizing they could not breach the hall, began to retreat slowly. Their ships lifted, engines glowing, as they disappeared into the night sky. Inside, the Golden Guardians slowly returned to their resting forms, folding into shadows along the walls. The chamber fell silent, the pulse of light settling into its soft steady glow once more. Amir let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. Dr. Hassan approached, awe and relief in his eyes. I do not know if the world is ready for what we have just seen. Amir placed his hand once more on the central pillar. The world will be ready when it must be. For now, we protect what was given to us. The pharaohs trusted humans. Now it is our turn to honor that trust. Outside, the desert returned to quiet, the stars shining above like distant witnesses. The golden hall pulsed softly, a heartbeat in the darkness, waiting for the next time its guardians would be called. Amir looked around the chamber, the glow reflecting in his eyes. He understood at last. This was not only a hall. It was a promise, a power, and a responsibility. Humanity had awoken the shadow of the pharaohs, and the desert had never felt more alive. The desert was alive with tension. Amir stood at the entrance of the Golden Hall, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Above, the stars were bright, but something darker moved among them. The Watchers had returned, this time with more ships, their silver forms glinting under the moonlight. The ground trembled beneath their landing. Dr. Hassan hurried to Amir's side, his face pale. They have brought more. These are not scouts. They intend to take the hall, whatever it costs. Amir nodded, calm and focused. We have the hall, and it answers to us. We are ready. Inside, the golden walls pulsed with energy. The guardians awakened from their resting forms, their shadows stretching tall across the chamber. Light flowed along the pillars and across the floor, connecting the central pillar to the outer walls. It was as if the hall itself was preparing for battle. Outside, the Watchers' ships released beams of light, scanning the desert. Machines hovered, weapons glowing faintly, but the golden energy spread from the hall like a protective shield. Sand lifted into the air, glowing faintly under the hall's power. Every attempt to approach was met with waves of golden light, forcing the ships to retreat slightly. Amir stepped forward, his hand resting on the central pillar. He felt the pulse of the hall through his body, a rhythm like the beating of a heart. The guardians outside the chamber's doors shifted, their forms now towering like giants. They were not human, yet they moved with precision and understanding. Every motion seemed guided by the pharaohs themselves. The Watchers hovered above, analyzing, calculating, trying to find a weakness. Their leader spoke, a voice that echoed inside Amir's mind. You cannot hold this power. Leave now, or face total destruction. Amir's voice was steady. This is human land, protected by human hands. The hall will not yield to outsiders. With a low hum, the guardians extended their glowing forms toward the desert. Light shot upward, forming arcs that connected with the Watchers' ships. Beams of golden energy struck the crafts, not to destroy but to push them back. Sparks of silver and gold danced in the night sky as the ships were forced to retreat, their engines straining against the invisible barrier. The desert shook as more energy flowed from the hull. The watchers tried to land closer, but every step was met with force. Sand swirled into golden storms, reflecting the power that Amir controlled through his bond with the hull. Each pulse of light carried memory and strength, as if the pharaohs themselves were standing beside him. Dr. Hassan watched in awe. This power, it is beyond any weapon we know. It is alive. Amir nodded. It was built to protect Earth, not to harm it. The pharaohs left this for humans, and now we are its keepers. Every move we make is guided by them. The watchers, realizing that brute force could not succeed, changed strategy. Their ships circled the camp, attempting to confuse and divide the golden energy. Yet the hull's light adjusted, extending in patterns that blocked every path. The guardians moved gracefully, each one filling a different sector, forming an impenetrable ring. Amir felt a quiet surge of hope. The battle was not won yet, but he could see the watchers' frustration. Their ships flickered under the golden beams, forced to hover at a safe distance. The hull's power was a shield and a signal, showing that humanity could stand against even the most advanced force. Time seemed to stretch. The desert night was lit with gold and silver, shadows and light dancing across the dunes. Amir kept his hand on the central pillar, feeling the hull's pulse through his veins. The guardians responded to his focus, moving as if reading his thoughts. Every attempt the watchers made to break the barrier was met with resistance, and slowly, they began to retreat. Finally, after what felt like hours, the desert fell quiet again. The golden light dimmed to its steady glow, the guardians returning to their resting forms inside the hall. Amir stepped outside, breathing in the cool night air. The watchers' ships had vanished beyond the horizon. Dr. Hassan placed a hand on Amir's shoulder. You have done what no weapon could do. The hull protected us, and you let it. Amir gazed at the desert, the golden glow still visible through the entrance. The hull will remain our secret until the world is ready. The pharaohs left this for a reason. Humanity has proven it can stand. The stars above seemed to shine brighter. Somewhere beyond them, the watchers were regrouping, but for now, Earth's defenders had held the line. The Golden Hall stood as a beacon, a living reminder that courage, knowledge, and history could be stronger than any force in the universe. Amir smiled slightly, feeling the weight of responsibility and the strength of the hall. We are not alone, he whispered. The pharaohs are with us, and the hall will guide us when the time comes. The desert returned to quiet. The golden glow from the hall pulsed softly, like a heartbeat in the darkness. It was ready for the future, ready for the next challenge. Humanity had stood, and the hall had shined. The desert was calm as dawn approached. The golden hall stood silently, its light now soft, steady, and warm. Amir walked slowly through the chamber, feeling the quiet hum beneath his feet. The battle was over, but the weight of what had happened pressed upon him. Humanity had faced beings from beyond the stars, and the hall had shown its power. Yet the fight had left him thinking about the future. Dr. Hassan followed, holding a notebook filled with symbols and sketches. We have learned much, he said quietly. The hall is alive with history and technology. But what do we do with this knowledge? If the Watchers return, can we hold them off again? Amir touched the central pillar, feeling the pulse of energy under his hand. The hall chooses humans who are ready to protect it. It will guide us. We do not need weapons of war. We have what the pharaohs left for us. Outside, the desert stretched endlessly, the sands glowing faintly in the early light. The camp had been quiet since the battle, workers too awed and cautious to speak. News of the hall's power had not yet spread beyond their small group, and Amir knew it must remain that way. This was not a treasure for governments or armies. It was a gift, a responsibility, and a promise. He walked to the far end of the chamber, where the carvings told the story of the ancient alliance. The silver beings had trusted humans long ago, teaching the pharaohs secrets of the stars and warning of dangers beyond Earth. The pharaohs had hidden the hall beneath sand and shadow to protect that trust. And now, Amir realized, humanity had proven itself worthy once more. "Do you think they will return?" Dr. Hassan asked, nodding toward the horizon. "They may," Amir replied. "But we will be ready. The hall is alive, and it will protect us. More than that, it will teach us. It is not just defense. It is guidance." Amir turned back to the central pillar. The golden light shimmered around him, reflecting in his eyes. He could feel the presence of the pharaohs, as if they were standing beside him, silent and patient. He thought of the battles he had seen in the visions, of the guardians rising to protect the hall, and of the watchers retreating. It was proof that humanity was not weak. Courage, knowledge, and unity could stand against the most advanced force. Dr. Hassan watched him in silence. "You have awakened more than a hall. You have awakened hope." Amir smiled faintly. The pharaohs believed humans could rise to the challenge. We just needed to remember. Outside, the sun began to rise, casting golden light across the dunes. The hall glowed softly, blending with the morning rays. Amir stepped out, breathing the cool desert air. The golden walls behind him shimmered like a promise, a memory of past guardians and a warning to those who might challenge Earth. Workers gathered around him cautiously, still in awe. Amir spoke to them, his voice calm but firm. "This hall is not treasure for us to take. It is a legacy. We must protect it and learn from it. Its power is ours because it trusts humans. We cannot fail that trust." The workers nodded, understanding at last that this discovery was not about wealth or fame. It was about history, courage, and responsibility. Amir looked toward the horizon, imagining the watchers far away, regrouping. They might return, but the Golden Hall had chosen its guardians. Humanity had awoken the power hidden beneath the desert. The pharaohs had left a shadow in history, a light in darkness, and now that light shined through human hands. He touched the golden wall one last time before leaving. The glow pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. It was alive, patient, and eternal. The hall was a shield, a teacher, and a reminder of what humans could achieve when they were trusted and united. As he walked across the sands, Amir knew this was only the beginning. The desert held secrets, the stars held challenges, and the Golden Hall would guide humanity toward them. Earth had proven it could defend itself with more than weapons. It had defended its legacy, its courage, and its future. The golden light behind him shone steadily, a promise in the darkness. And Amir smiled, knowing that humanity was ready for the challenges that lay beyond the stars. The Pharaoh's shadow hall had awakened, and so had the strength of Earth.